Chapter 1. The Birth of Medieval Barcelona. As the sun rises over the Mediterranean Sea, its light slowly spills across the stone walls of a city that is still learning who it is. This is Barcelona, not the vibrant modern city known today, but a fragile settlement standing at the edge of survival. The Roman Empire has fallen, and with it, the order that once shaped daily life. What remains is uncertainty, fear, and opportunity. The streets are narrow and uneven, built not for beauty but for protection. Thick stone walls wrap tightly around the city, shielding it from invaders, bandits, and the unknown dangers beyond. These walls are more than structures of defense. They are symbols of a city turning inward, learning to endure in a world that no longer offers guarantees. Barcelona's Roman past has not vanished completely. Broken columns, old roads, and abandoned baths still stand, half swallowed by time. The people walk past them every day, using stones from Roman ruins to build homes, workshops, and churches. The empire may be gone, but its bones still hold the city together. Life here is slow, cautious, and grounded in survival. Most people wake before dawn. Fishermen head toward the sea, hoping the waters will be generous. Farmers outside the walls prepare their fields, always watching the horizon for danger. Inside the city, craftsmen begin their work. Blacksmiths hammer iron, bakers heat their ovens, and traders prepare small stalls with whatever goods they can offer. Barcelona's location is both a blessing and a risk. The sea brings trade, food, and contact with distant lands, but it also invites raiders and foreign powers. Every ship on the horizon could mean wealth or war. This constant tension shapes the city's character. The people of medieval Barcelona grow cautious, resilient, and deeply aware that survival depends on unity. Power in the city is fragmented. Nobles, church leaders, and military figures all compete for influence. There is no single authority that guarantees safety. Instead, loyalty is personal, local, and often temporary. In times of peace, trade and construction slowly expand the city's reach. In times of conflict, the population retreats behind the walls, praying they will hold. Religion begins to fill the void left by Rome. Churches rise where Roman buildings once stood, and faith becomes a source of order in a chaotic world. Bells echo through the streets, marking time, calling people to worship, and reminding them that divine protection may be their last hope. For many, belief is not just spiritual, it is survival. Yet even in hardship, Barcelona grows. Small neighborhoods form around markets and churches. Families pass down trades from one generation to the next. Stories of past glory mix with dreams of a stronger future. The city is no longer Roman, but it is not yet powerful. It exists in between, unfinished, uncertain, and alive. This early medieval Barcelona is a city being reborn. Every stone laid, every wall repaired, every ship that docks in its harbor pushes it one step further from collapse and one step closer to influence. The foundations of greatness are being built quietly, not through conquest, but through endurance. And as night falls and torches flicker along the walls, the people of Barcelona sleep knowing one truth above all others: survival today is victory enough. The city's story has only begun, and what rises from these fragile beginnings will one day shape the fate of the Mediterranean world. Chapter 2. Life behind the stone walls. As dawn breaks over medieval Barcelona, the city awakens not with comfort, but with necessity. Life behind the stone walls is harsh, repetitive, and unforgiving. Every day begins with the same silent question hanging in the air. Will we survive today? The streets are narrow and crowded, designed less for movement and more for defense. Sunlight struggles to reach the ground as tall stone buildings lean inward, trapping smells of smoke, sweat, and waste. There is no separation between work and home. Workshops open directly onto the street, and families live just steps away from where they labor. For the common people of Barcelona, life is ruled by routine. Men rise early to work as fishermen, porters, craftsmen, or laborers. Their hands are rough, their backs bent, their lives shaped by physical effort. Women manage households, prepare food, weave cloth, and care for children, often while helping with family trades. Childhood is brief. By the age of 7, most children already work, learning skills that will determine their future. Markets are the heart of the city. Here, farmers from outside the walls bring grain, vegetables, and livestock. Fishermen sell their daily catch, hoping the sea has been kind. Merchants shout prices, bargaining fiercely over bread, oil, and cloth. Coins exchange hands quickly. Few people can afford to waste money. Hunger is a constant threat, especially during poor harvests or political unrest. Homes are small and dark. Most are built from stone and wood scavenged from older Roman ruins. Windows are narrow slits designed to keep enemies out rather than light in. Fires burn inside for warmth and cooking, filling rooms with smoke that blackens walls and lungs alike. Disease spreads easily in these conditions, and sickness is accepted as a normal part of life. Clean water is scarce. Wells are shared, and waste is often thrown into the streets. Rats roam freely, unseen threats in the shadows. People do not understand disease, only its consequences. When illness strikes, prayers are whispered before remedies are attempted. Death is common, and mourning is brief. Life must go on. Despite the struggle, community binds the city together. Neighbors rely on one another for protection, food, and survival. When danger approaches, bells ring and gates close. Everyone knows their place. The walls that protect Barcelona also trap it, but inside, a shared identity forms. These people are not Romans anymore. They are Barcelonans. Festivals offer rare moments of relief. Religious celebrations fill the streets with music, candles, and color. For a short time, hunger and fear fade into the background. These events remind people that life is more than survival, that joy, however fleeting, still exists. Social class is visible everywhere. Nobles wear fine fabrics and live in larger stone houses closer to centers of power. Commoners bow their heads and step aside. Yet even the wealthy are not safe. Disease, war, and famine do not respect status. Behind the walls, everyone is vulnerable. The sea remains a constant presence. From the harbor, sailors bring news of distant lands, wars, and opportunities. For some, these stories spark dreams of escape. For most, they serve as reminders that the world beyond the walls is vast and dangerous. Life in medieval Barcelona is not heroic or romantic. It is defined by endurance. Each day survived is an achievement. Each night slept without alarm is a blessing. Behind these stone walls, a people are being shaped by hardship. Stronger, tougher, and quietly preparing for a future they cannot yet imagine. And while the city appears small and fragile, the resilience of its people is laying the groundwork for a rise that history has not yet recorded. Chapter 3. Faith, Fear, and the Power of the Church. In medieval Barcelona, faith is not a choice. It is a necessity. When science offers no answers and survival feels uncertain, belief becomes the strongest force shaping everyday life. The church stands at the center of the city, not only as a place of worship, but as a source of order, fear, and hope. Church bells echo through the narrow streets from dawn until dusk. They mark time, summon prayers, and remind the people that God is always watching. For many, the sound is comforting. For others, it is a warning. In a world where disease can strike without reason and war can arrive without notice, faith is the only explanation people trust. Priests hold enormous influence. They read, write, and speak Latin, the language of God and power. Most common people cannot read at all, making them dependent on the church to interpret the world. Sermons explain disasters as divine punishment and survival as divine mercy. To question this logic is dangerous, even unthinkable. Barcelona's churches are built from the same stones as Roman ruins, symbolizing a spiritual authority rising from a fallen empire. Inside, candles flicker against cold stone walls, casting long shadows that seem alive. The air smells of incense and smoke. People kneel, whispering prayers for protection from famine, plague, and enemies they cannot see. Fear is constant. A poor harvest is not bad luck, it is a warning from God. A sudden illness is not disease, it is judgment. The church teaches that suffering is part of God's plan, and endurance is the path to salvation. This belief keeps order in the city. It teaches obedience, patience, and acceptance. But faith also brings unity. During times of crisis, the entire city gathers in prayer. Processions move through the streets, led by priests holding crosses and relics believed to possess holy power. People touch these objects, desperate for miracles. Sometimes, faith is the only medicine available. The church also controls time itself. The calendar is shaped around religious events, feast days, fasting periods, holy weeks. Work stops, markets close, and life pauses in obedience to God's schedule. These moments provide relief from daily struggle, but they also reinforce who truly holds power. Yet not everyone trusts the church completely. Quiet doubts exist, whispered behind closed doors. When prayers go unanswered and suffering continues, some begin to wonder, but fear keeps them silent. To challenge the church is to risk social isolation, or worse. Monasteries become centers of knowledge and stability. Monks preserve texts, tend to the sick, and offer shelter to travelers. In a collapsing world, they represent continuity. Through them, fragments of ancient knowledge survive, waiting for a future that will value learning once more. The church also shapes morality. Laws are influenced by religious teaching, and punishment is tied to sin. Public confessions and penance serve as warnings to others. Shame becomes a tool of control. The city remains orderly, not because it is safe, but because people fear divine punishment more than earthly authority. As Barcelona grows, the church grows with it, richer, stronger, and more influential. Its towers rise above the city, visible from every corner, reminding the people where power truly lies. In medieval Barcelona, faith is both shield and chain. It protects the mind from chaos, but binds it to fear. And as the city moves forward, this balance between belief and control will shape its destiny in ways no one yet understands. Chapter 4. Trade, the sea, and the rise of power. While faith governs the soul of medieval Barcelona, it is the sea that feeds its ambition. Beyond the stone walls, the Mediterranean stretches endlessly, carrying both danger and opportunity. For Barcelona, the water is more than a horizon. It is a path to power. The harbor is alive from dawn until nightfall. Wooden ships creak against the docks as sailors unload barrels of grain, wine, olive oil, and salted fish. Foreign tongues mix with local speech, creating a constant hum of negotiation and tension. Every arrival brings stories of distant lands, new markets, and shifting alliances. Through these ships, Barcelona begins to see itself as part of a much larger world. Trade transforms the city. Merchants grow wealthy, and with wealth comes influence. Unlike nobles who inherit power, merchants earn theirs through risk. Storms, pirates, and political conflicts threaten every voyage. A single failed journey can ruin a family. But success brings stone houses, fine clothing, and political voice. As commerce expands, Barcelona's position on the Mediterranean becomes strategic. The city connects inland regions with sea routes, acting as a gateway between Europe and the wider world. Goods flow through its markets, and coins pile up in strong boxes. Slowly, power begins to shift away from purely religious and feudal control. Guilds emerge, organized groups of craftsmen and traders who protect their interests. Blacksmiths, weavers, shipbuilders, and merchants unite under shared rules. These guilds regulate prices, control quality, and provide support in times of crisis. For the first time, common workers gain collective strength. The sea also brings conflict. Rival ports compete for dominance. Pirates lurk beyond the horizon, ready to strike unguarded ships. Barcelona must defend its trade or lose everything it has built. Watchtowers rise along the coast, and armed guards patrol the harbor. The city's survival increasingly depends on naval strength. Political power grows alongside economic success. Wealthy merchants fund city defenses, churches, and public works. In return, they demand a voice in governance. Slowly, Barcelona evolves from a vulnerable settlement into a confident urban power. Decisions are no longer made solely by nobles and priests. Money speaks, and it speaks loudly. Yet prosperity is uneven. While traders profit, many laborers remain poor. Dock workers lift heavy cargo for little pay. Sailors face long, dangerous journeys for uncertain rewards. The gap between wealth and poverty widens, creating tension beneath the city's success. Still, hope spreads. Trade brings opportunity, and opportunity fuels ambition. Young men dream of the sea. Families invest in ships, hoping to secure their future. Barcelona is no longer merely surviving, it is growing. The city's architecture reflects this transformation. Warehouses line the harbor. Market squares expand. New neighborhoods form beyond the original walls. Barcelona pushes outward, confident that its walls and its wealth can protect it. Through trade, Barcelona gains something greater than riches: influence. Other cities begin to notice its presence. Alliances form, conflicts escalate. The city becomes a player in Mediterranean politics, its future tied to winds, waves, and courage. In medieval Barcelona, the sea is both ally and enemy. It gives life, wealth, and power, but demands constant vigilance. And as ships continue to arrive and depart, the city moves closer to greatness. One voyage at a time. Chapter 5. War, Disease, and the Fight to Survive. Just as Barcelona begins to taste prosperity, darkness returns. In the medieval world, growth always invites danger. Wealth attracts enemies, crowded cities invite disease, and peace is never permanent. For Barcelona, the greatest threats come not from ambition, but from forces it cannot control. War is a constant shadow. Rival kingdoms and local lords clash over land, power, and trade routes. When conflict approaches, the city changes instantly. Gates are sealed. Watchmen take their posts along the walls. Weapons replace tools in the hands of ordinary men. Even those who have never fought before are expected to defend the city. Battles are brutal and personal. There are no distant armies. War reaches the streets. Food supplies run low. Prices rise. Fear spreads faster than any army. The walls that once symbolized protection now feel like a cage. Inside, people wait, listening for sounds of attack, praying the defenses will hold. But war is not the deadliest enemy. Disease arrives silently. Ships that once brought wealth now carry unseen killers. Rats crawl through cargo holds, fleas spread sickness, and within weeks, the city begins to fall ill. People wake with fever, swelling, and pain. By nightfall, many are dead. The plague does not discriminate. Rich and poor suffer alike. Markets empty. Churches overflow with the dying. Streets fill with the sound of coughing, prayers, and mourning. Bodies are carried away on carts, buried in mass graves beyond the walls. No one understands what is happening. Some blame God. Others blame foreigners, sinners, or the poor. Fear turns neighbors into enemies. Families lock their doors. Parents abandon sick children. Survival becomes selfish. The church struggles to maintain control. Priests offer prayers and last rites, but even faith feels fragile in the face of mass death. Some clergy flee. Others die alongside their congregations. Hope fades as fast as life itself. Barcelona becomes quiet. Work stops. Ships avoid the harbor. Fires burn unattended. The city that once buzzed with trade and ambition now feels hollow. Survivors move like ghosts through empty streets, unsure who will be next. And yet, life does not completely disappear. Those who remain adapt. They learn to avoid crowds. They clean streets, burn belongings of the dead, and search desperately for meaning. Communities shrink, but bonds between survivors grow stronger. Shared suffering creates shared resolve. When the disease finally loosens its grip, Barcelona is changed forever. Thousands are gone, entire families erased, but the city still stands. War and plague have stripped away illusion. People now understand how fragile life truly is. Power, wealth, and faith are no longer seen as guarantees, only tools. Slowly, trade resumes. Ships return. New workers fill empty spaces. Survivors inherit land and opportunity once denied to them. Out of devastation, transformation begins. Barcelona has faced its greatest test and endured. The city that rises afterward is harder, wiser, and more cautious. It remembers the cost of growth. It remembers the silence of plague-filled streets, and it carries those memories forward, shaping every decision that follows. In medieval Barcelona, survival is not heroic. It is stubborn, quiet, relentless, and that stubborn will to endure is what keeps the city alive, long enough to face whatever history brings next. Chapter 6. The Legacy of Medieval Barcelona. When the dust of war settles and the echoes of plague finally fade, Barcelona stands transformed. The city that once clung to survival has learned the price of endurance and the value of resilience. Medieval Barcelona emerges scarred, but stronger, carrying the weight of its past into a future it is finally ready to shape. The streets begin to fill again. Markets reopen. New voices replace those lost to disease and conflict. Buildings are repaired, and empty homes are claimed by survivors and newcomers alike. What was once devastation becomes opportunity. Land changes hands. Social barriers shift. Those who lived through the worst now shape what comes next. The city's identity is no longer fragile. Barcelona understands its place in the Mediterranean world. Trade routes are restored, alliances rebuilt, and ports busy once more. Merchants and craftsmen gain lasting influence, balancing the power once dominated by nobles and clergy. Governance becomes more complex and more local. Architecture tells the story of survival. Churches stand taller, markets grow wider, and walls expand outward to protect a growing population. Each stone placed is a declaration: we endured, we remain. The church continues to guide moral life, but its authority is tempered by experience. Faith remains important, but blind certainty has been replaced by cautious belief. People pray, but they also prepare. Lessons learned from loss are not forgotten. Memory becomes the city's quiet teacher. Stories of plague and war are passed down through generations, not to inspire fear, but to preserve wisdom. Children grow up hearing how quickly prosperity can vanish and how unity can save a city from collapse. Barcelona's medieval era does not end in glory. It ends in understanding. True power is not built overnight. It grows slowly through hardship, adaptation, and the refusal to disappear. The city's strength lies not in conquest, but in continuity. This legacy reaches far beyond stone walls and harbor docks. The values forged during these centuries, resilience, ambition, community, become the foundation of modern Barcelona. The spirit of the medieval city lives on in its streets, its culture, and its determination to endure. As centuries pass, Barcelona will rise, fall, and rise again. Empires will change. Borders will shift, but the lessons of the medieval era remain carved into its soul. What began as a struggling settlement becomes a city shaped by survival, trade, faith, and human will. Medieval Barcelona does not vanish into history. It becomes history. And even today, if you walk its oldest streets, you can still feel it. The echoes of footsteps, the weight of stone, and the quiet strength of a city that refused to fade. If you enjoyed this journey into medieval Barcelona, like the video, subscribe for more forgotten cities and lost eras of history, and comment below, which city should we travel to next in the past?